Hey stars, it's me, Star the Star, and I'm back. Listen, please remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share. I need you to do this. I'm trying to grow this channel with you guys and for you guys and for myself too. But, I'm trying to grow it. So this is what I need from you. Listen, I'm not going to keep you long. I know that some of you have had a long week and looking forward to this weekend. And this is coming towards some of the last weekends of this summer of 25, right? And right now I'm just drinking some tea. And if you notice, I don't even have on glasses today, which means I'm doing better. I'm feeling better. I can't tell you the last time I could have done a story without any glasses. It's amazing. It's like I've been bit by a spider. Okay. So we're going to start this video off with, well, we're going to start this video off in Alexandria, Virginia, right? And I'm going to show you this, and then we're going to talk about it because apparently this stuff is going on all over the country, and here we are. Well, it states Alexandria Housing Authority CEO caught living in highly sought public housing unit. Now, this is the Alexandria Housing Authority CEO, Mr. Eric Johnson, right? And this is the unit. I know units look, first of all, low income housing and housing for the housing authority looks different from state to state. In New York, where I grew up, we had public housing, which were projects that went up to sometimes 10 to 15 floors. But then when you come to Jersey, they used to have those, but then they cut their housing authority, their low income housing looks like townhomes, looks like private homes, looks totally different. So here in Virginia, where we're talking Alexandria, which is not far from Washington, D.C., their low income housing looks like townhouses. Look great to me, but they're saying that this was a sought after unit or units. You know what I mean? I'm sure some is better than the other, just like any other state. Some housing is going to be better than others, right? Okay, so let's get out of that. You see who I'm talking about. We'll get back to this picture soon. And we're going to talk about what it is. The Alexandria Redevelopment and Housing Authority, ARHA CEO Eric Johnson was caught living in a public housing unit owned by the Housing Authority, which is against the organization policy. The ARHA Board of Commissioners voted to terminate Johnson's employment effective immediately amid an ongoing investigation into his unauthorized stay. Johnson had confirmed his residency in the unit, which he described as temporarily while transitioning residences. The board decision was prompted by calls for an investigation by City Council member John Taylor Chapman and Mayor Elia Gaskins. The investigation will guide the board in determining any additional steps needed to ensure transparency and strengthening governance structure. So what do you think about this? This is the CEO of the Housing Authority, right? And he takes it upon himself as allegedly he states he's in between housing. He's moving from one place to another. So he decided to stay in this residence until whatever. Now, allegedly, and this is what I'm thinking, who leaves an apartment or a home before they have the next apartment and home waiting for them? Well, apparently the housing authority CEO, he does. Because why? He has his hands on apartments all across their state, right? Well, at least in Alexandria, Virginia. And he decided to take one, and he wound up taking one of the best units that I guess is available. Like I said, I'm sure there's levels to it. And they're stating that the Alexandria Housing Authority, the CEO first was placed on probation, but then they just fired him effective immediately because it was ridiculous. Because people have been waiting on this particular Alexandria Housing Authority apartment list in the numbers of thousands. So there are thousands of people in Alexandria, Virginia, waiting to be accepted or to be able to enter into housing authority apartments, low income. And this man, I don't know, they don't state what he makes, but he's a CEO. So I'm sure he makes enough to be able to move around and keep it pushing instead of taking units and apartments made for the unprivileged, underprivileged, and people of his state. I think it's ridiculous. And not only did he move into this unit, right? He had it redesigned, meaning I don't like these wooden floors, or I don't like these tile floors, put wooden floors. I don't like that wall there, knock that wall and put a beam. Whatever it is. So how temporary was it? Is my question. If it's temporary, you're going to move in for a month or two. It doesn't matter if that wall is there or if the wood, if the floors are laminated or what. It doesn't matter because it's only temporary. So you say, Mr. Johnson, right? Listen, the corruption is from state to state, city to city, and this is just ridiculous. And I'm sure the people that were living in allegedly in around the units that he decided to live in didn't even know he was a CEO of the housing authority. But sooner or later they put it together. I don't know. Really. So another African American man out of a job because of something that didn't have to be. It didn't have to be. Okay. Now, this next story might strike some people, a little weird, but we've heard of people being in comas for a number of years or until the family was ready to accept that whatever it was or the money ran out, and that's allegedly. Well, that is not the case in Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, there's a prince, and they call him the sleeping prince. Well, he passed away at the age of 36 after being in a coma for 20 years. Hmm? Again, a prince in Saudi Arabia passed away at the age of 36 after being in a coma for over 20 years. Well, Prince Al Walid, and he has a lot of them names, but you guys know, come on, knock it off. I'm not going to go through all of that. And this picture is enough for me. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so this is the story. The Prince Al Walid had been in a coma since 2005 after suffering a serious car accident while studying at a military academy in London, right? During surgery after the accident, a brain hemorrhage left him unresponsive, and he remained in that state for a little over 2 decades. I would say I'm not surprised because um, he's a prince, and I'm sure that the money was there to do that. What insurance company, what of our insurance company, going to keep us on life support for 20 years? What they say is the father, the king, never gave up on his son's recovery. He refused to withdraw life support and remained hopeful. Regularly prayed for his son's healing during significant Islamic occasions. He often shared emotional messages and updates. Um, so after 20 years, he finally succumbed to whatever it was. I know that he was in a car accident, and of course, like I said, he had a brain hemorrhage and was in a coma for over 20 years. I thought that was different. I don't know if I've ever heard of it that long. I think I have, but I'm not sure. What do you guys think? First off, do you think that we would even have a chance if we believed in our loved one was going to get better? They did say that there had been some movements, right, with his body, meaning a finger or a hand twitch, and that kept giving them hope, but there was never any brain activity. And so they kept him on by a machine. So I would like to give my condolences to the royal family in Saudi Arabia. Um, okay, so let's stick to this a little bit. Now, I'm going to show you this, and then we're going to talk about this because this right here, I have never heard of such a thing. And those that have, please comment on this video and let me know what your experience or what you think, because I've never heard of such a thing. Parents were giving their deceased son's brain and leaking box by funeral home, lawsuit alleges. Okay, so this is the deceased that we're speaking of, from his uniform and from his picture, because they're not saying what happened to him or whatever. So I'm just assuming, and just I'm going to say allegedly. This is who he is, and it looks like he has on a Marine uniform, from what I can see. Well, it states that two funeral homes have been accused of packing a deceased man's brain in an unmarked box and giving it to his grieving parents without explanation. Abby and Lawrence Butler claimed they had no clue what was inside of the box until it sat in the back of their car for days and started to leak and smell like death. Okay, so let me get rid of this picture, right? Because I have never heard of a funeral home giving a family a brain. I'm just saying. It says the brain of a former U.S. Marine had been allegedly put into a box by a funeral home and given to his unknowing parents. Okay, so what happened was, what the family is stating, that when their when their son passed away, they dealt with one funeral home in Georgia, and they had his remains sent from the funeral home in Georgia to a funeral home in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, right? Okay. Now I'm going to show you a picture of how they packed it and what you would possibly think that would be. I'm just trying to see. The parents had no way of thinking that a brain would be in this type of packaging, or any type of packaging, if you really want to know. But okay, let's go there. So they're saying that they were giving a cardboard box, right? And in that cardboard box, as you see in this picture, there's a red box inside of the cardboard box. So they didn't think much of it. Now, one funeral home in Georgia is stating that they sent the box with whatever to the funeral home in Philadelphia because they never opened up the red box. They didn't know what was in it. So they just sent it. Okay? So let's get out of that. And like I said, the family was given the remains, whatever it was. And they, like most families, when you receive something, the remains of a deceased loved one, you may not be ready to open it or go through it. You're not thinking it's anything like with bodily fluids or anything like. I have never. If you have, please tell me, because I have never heard of something like this. A brain? Why would you give a brain to the family? It kind of led me to think a little bit of the way he may have passed, allegedly. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. Why would you give the parents a brain? Why would you send that to them? I don't understand that part of it. It confuses me. Well, that's what happened. So they're suing both both funeral homes, the one in Georgia and the one in and the one in Philadelphia, and they're saying that this wasn't handled in a correct manner. This was never, and I'm going to leave out the story of how the father discovered that it was his son's brain, because it started to smell staying in an enclosed car for days. Um, and him not knowing where the smell came from, wherever that box was allegedly in the trunk is where he found the smells to come from. And when he went to touch the box, it was liquidy. So they're stating that the lawsuit just states that they didn't handle things properly. Neither funeral home, because it went from one funeral home to the next to the parents. That's crazy. It's crazy. And nothing was labeled. That's crazy. So look, I know it's weird and I'm not going to stay on this story too long, but when have you ever heard of such a thing? I have never heard of that. What would the parents do with the brain? I'm asking. Just asking. Please let me know. Please let me know. Okay, so now we're going to move to Maine. Old Orchard Beach in Maine, right? Now, I'm going to show you the picture of the officer that we're talking about because, we've been talking about how ICE have been just running rampant. And some of us question if, you don't even know if they're real ICE officers when the way that they come. They're covered, they're masked, they just got ICE on stuff. Anybody can do that. And I've done stories where there have been fake ICE people picking up people off the street. Okay, so this is how we're going to go. This is Old Orchard Beach officer from Jamaica arrested by ICE. Police claim error by DHS. Now, as you see, he's African American. His name is John Luke Evans, and he was born in Jamaica and somehow arrived in the United States back in 2023. Okay, so let's figure this out. Now, okay, I'm not going to even go there because I've noticed in this picture, as you can see, all the officers are Caucasian except him. Would they have been picked up by ICE? Doing the same exact thing, I'm asking? Just a question. Just a question. Okay, so let's talk about it. Well, the arrest of Officer John Luke Evans by ICE had led to a significant controversy, with the Old Orchard Beach Police Department claiming an error by the Department of Homeland Security, DHS. The incident involved Officer Evans, who was arrested for allegedly overstaying his visa and attempting to purchase a firearm for his job as a reserve police officer. ICE stated that Evans legally entered the United States in September of 2023, but failed to depart the country as scheduled, leading to his arrest. In contrast, the Old Orchard Police Department argued that it followed all required steps before hiring Evans, including background checks and standard training, and that the Department of Homeland Security had verified his employment eligibility in the United States through the E-Verify program. The department is currently reviewing Evans' employment status and conducting an internal investigation into the matter. Now, I've heard a lot of things, but I don't think I've ever heard of a police officer being picked up. A police officer. So you can come here, apply for the police department, get accepted into police academy. They do background checks and everything. They know where you're from, everything. They hire you as a police officer. When you go to purchase your firearm from a gun store, you're arrested because it flags you that you should be deported and that you've been in the country over your stay from September 2023, which means he's still being held, people, right now. So a police officer from Jamaica working in Old Orchard Beach is now in ICE custody, waiting to find out. I don't know. They're going back and forth. Homeland Security. Well, actually, the director of ICE in Boston, right, argues that the Old Orchard Beach Police Department was working and breaking the very laws that they are charged to enforce. And they were employing an illegal alien. And how did that happen? But they're stating that they got, they did everything that they were supposed to do. I don't even understand that. But my question is, I'm going to bring the picture down. This is what he looks like outside. I'm just stating outside of his uniform, right? And it makes me wonder, would he have been arrested and picked up if he didn't look like that? Just saying. All right, so I'll follow up on this. I want to see what happens. I want to see. I don't think much of anything is going to happen. I think he's just going to be deported. But you know what? We'll see. Okay, guys, I'm coming to my last story. I'm going to bring up this picture of the baby that we're talking about. And let's get into the story. This is my last story for the day. I'm going to let you guys go. I ain't going to keep you. And here we go. Okay, so this is the picture of I don't know if this picture is a picture of him being 4 months old. It says a mom says her giant 22-pound baby turns heads in the street as he's 2.5 feet long and wear clothes for toddlers at only 4 months old. Now, if from the pictures I saw, they're not really showing his length and stuff, but he looks like a fat little baby with fat little cheeks. I don't know. And I don't know. I maybe should have researched a little bit on how much an average 4 month old baby would weigh. But my thing was, what's average? Everyone's different. Everyone's different. Every baby's different. Um, Weight can always be a factor. He could be a big baby. Well, Macy Magali, who's the mother, shared a clip of her 4 month baby Gunner on TikTok. And people started to attack her on TikTok, stating that she's a bad mother and that her 4 month baby should not weigh 22 pounds and be 2.5 feet long. And what control would she have as the baby being 2.5 feet long? What is they saying? She's stretching him? Okay, so, and the weird thing is, like, I have a cousin, and when she gave birth, right? I think my cousin was 10 pounds. Um, and more, maybe 10 pounds or something ounces, maybe. I'm just trying to be honest with it. Yeah, it was a big baby back then. But I have heard of babies being 12 pounds, 13 ounces, and stuff like that. Well, Macy says her baby is healthy. The doctors have assured her that he's just big for his age. Gunnar weighed 8 pounds, 1 ounces, and measured 19.5 inches tall when he was born back on February 19th, but has since shot up to 22 pounds and 8 ounces and measures 2.5 feet long. I don't know. Please put in my comments, mothers and stuff, or if you have any knowledge. I just don't. Let me know what a baby, a 4 month old baby, that was when he was born, measured 8 pounds, 1 ounces, and at 4 months, what should their weight be? From 8 pounds, 1 ounce, born, and 4 months later, what should be their weight? I don't know, because it's 8. When they say in 22, I don't know. It's a lot. But people attack this mother about her baby being obese and how she's a bad mother and she's overfeeding him and things of the sort. And the doctors are assuring her that he's just a big baby and that the big baby. Listen, guys, this is this is what I have for you. I don't know, but please let me know what a average baby at 4 months old should weigh. I'm interested to know. I love you guys. I want you guys to be intentional. I want you to check on your strong friends and check on your strong family members. And I want you guys to enjoy coming weekend. Like I said, this is the last few weekends that we're going to have for the summer. And the weather is a little chillier, a little brisk. But, it is what it is. And for the next week, we're not supposed to get any rain, I think, next week. And the temperature is going to be anywhere from a steady 77 to 80. So, I mean, through the entire week with no rain. So, blessings. I love you guys. Have a safe weekend, and I'll see you soon. Be safe. Be intentional.